Right, hello friends, and welcome to today's lessons. And in today's lessons, we will be talking about square root. And I think we've all heard what a square is. We know square to be a shape, a four-sided quadrilateral that's equal. And we know what a square also is in math when we have a number repeating itself. When we have a number multiplied by itself, we get the square of the number. So we have 2 multiplied by itself giving us 4. That's a square. And we have 3 multiplied by 3 giving us the square of 3, which is 9. And when we are looking at square roots, we are looking at how we got that squared. So if you should give me 4, you are asking me for how did we arrive at the 4? What 2 numbers did we multiply to get 4? So that's a quick summary. But as I explained, we'll get into the details of the discussion. Now, maths actually involve writing things in short forms or having shortcuts to writing things. Just like in normal English conversation, we would want to say, I want to say something like, I can't. I can say, instead of saying I cannot, I can say can't or I can't. Or I want to say, I have not been to his house. I haven't been to his house. So that's another way we could write something in a shortcut. And in mathematics also, we have things that we could write things in short forms. And some of them are things we have been used to. For example, the multiplication is just another way of writing additions. So multiplications are actually repeated additions. Therefore, if I want to write, that's what I really want to write. I want to write 2 plus 2 plus 2. I could also write this as 2 repeating itself 3 times. So 2 plus 2, 4 plus 2 gives me 6. 2 times 3 gives me 6 as well. So we have a shortcut of writing 2 plus 2 plus 2. All right, if I would want to, the same applies if I want to multiply a number. For example, I have 2 times 2 times 2. I can write this to be 2 raised to the power 3. So I multiply 2 3 times. That means 2 is multiplying itself 3 times. Now, let's come to this other side. So I could write this 2 times 2 is equal to 4. This same thing can be written as 2 raised to the power 2. 2 raised to the power 2. We call these things, whenever a number raises itself to the power 2, we call it a square. A square. A square simply because when we come and even plot this same thing on a Cartesian plane, we'll get a square shape. So let's try that. Form a square. That would be that the number of times we are moving down should be the same as the number of times we are moving to this other direction. So we should have, let's say, 3 times 3. That would be that we are moving 3 times here, 1, 2, 3. So from here to here, and then from 1, okay, let's 3 times 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we are moving upwards, 1, 2, 3. So how many squares do we have here? We have a square here. We should measure this, whether the distance from here is the same as the distance here, is the same as the distance here. So let's satisfy the fact that squares have, as a shape, they have 4 equal sides. So that would be 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So how many squares we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this means that 3 times 3 gives us 9. Or when we use the number 3 to produce a square, we would get 9. So that's what 3 times 3 means. Or this same thing can be written as 3 squared. giving us what? 9. Now, when we are asking for the square root of any number, we are simply asking for what we used to get. So square roots is like you being asked a question backwards. So that means that the square has already been created, the square shape has already been created, and you are asked to tell what shape or what's the side of each, or what's the side of the square, or the square has already been created, and you're asked to find out what one length or what the length of each side of the square is, simply. So if you give me 9, you're asking me to find the square root of 9. Simply means that what is one side of the square? So one side is 3. So therefore, the square root. So the square root, this is a symbol for it. So square root of 9. So square root of 9 is equal to what? 3. The square root of 9 equals to 3. Now, we have a unit, a symbol for identifying the square root. So this is square root of 9. Whenever you see this, you see a number under this, it means that you are asked to find the square root of that number, giving us 3. Now, another way we could also look at it from its words means when we say the root of something, we are asking for the source. So the root of, what's the root of the problem, a certain problem? The root of the problem is lack of finances. That means that problem began from a certain source. So when we say the root of a certain number, we are asking for where the number originated from, or where that shape began from. Basically, that's it. So that's what square roots are. Okay, let's take a look at, let's note a few things when it comes to square roots. You will realize that when, okay, just right, we multiply 3 and then 3 and we got 9, positive 9. We could also do the same for a negative and a negative number. So that would mean 1, 2, 3, going down 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So negative times negative 3 times negative 3 can also give us positive 9. And then if you are asked, so this negative 3 times negative 3 can also give us 9. So therefore, if you are asked to find the square root of 9, you can't say the answer is just positive 3, because it's not only positive 3 that you can multiply to get, it's not negative 3 that, it's not only positive 3 that you can multiply to get 9. You could also multiply negative 3 by negative 3 to get a 9. So therefore, the square root of 9 would be equal to plus or minus 3. Do you think that we could get a, let's try this out. A square of a negative number would then imply that we have so I have a square of, let's say, square of, what's the square root of negative 9? It's not possible. It's an error. The reason is you can't multiply any two, no number can multiply itself to give you a negative number. If you multiply negative 3 times negative 3, you get a positive 9. If you multiply positive 3 times positive 3, you also get a positive 9. So no number can multiply itself to give you a negative number. So there is no negative square root. All right, thank you. About perfect squares. When we are talking about perfect squares, we are looking at those numbers whose roots can give us a rational number. So we simply 1 squared gives us 1, 2 squared gives us 4, 3 squared gives us 9, 4 squared gives us 16, 5 squared gives us 25. And then we should find the square root of all of this. Still get 1, of course. Square root of 4. We get 2. Its source. Square root of 9 gives us 3. Square root of 16 gives us 4. Square root of 25 gives us 5. So numbers that when we find their square roots, we have whole numbers like this or rational numbers like this are what we call perfect squares. Because there are other forms of numbers which we'll introduce in our next topic called surds. These kinds of numbers do not give you rational numbers like this. An example is finding the square root of 5 or finding the square root of 7.